Okay, so I don't know what I'm going to call this video, but I just encountered a Bible verse that I wanted to expand upon a little bit, okay? I'm not going to specialize in discussing Bible verses, I'll just discuss whatever I want to, but Exodus 23:2 says, among other things, do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. So a lot of what we retrospectively conceive of as wrong is shaped by moral fashions that are somewhat imperceptible to people living in a current time. Now, do not follow the crowd in doing wrong is something that I would say a lot of recluses know, but a lot of sort of normies or neurotypical people have to learn the hard way. Okay? A great example of somebody who spotted deadly or unconscionable moral fashions during her time would be Sophie Scholl, who started out as a member of the Hitler Youth, and eventually she grew up to oppose the Nazis on immoral grounds, and I believe she was executed for what she did, okay? But she was a badass woman. And the life and sort of actions of women like her kind of immunized me against really succumbing to sort of red pill perspectives on women, you know? I believe men and women are capable of profound moral heroism, but they need the right kinds of externally induced and self-directed training in order to become heroes within their respective resource budgets. So, to give you a little bit of a variation on a quote from one of my favorite authors, love without courage and sacrifice is like a Rolls Royce without an engine and fuel. Okay? The sins of today are shaped by moral fashions that are perceptible to people outside of certain communities but not within it. If you are, say, a practicing Christian, but you're making excuses for purportedly Christian politicians to snipe and bomb innocent people or civilians, then I would say that that is a problem. That's succumbing to a moral fashion that you would regard as intolerable if it was done by just one person. You know, if you're a Jew, then you might endorse infant circumcision despite the fact that people like me regard it as a profoundly inhumane thing to put anyone through, except in the event of a medical emergency. You know, if you are somebody from my formative background, which would be the sort of Hindu American community, then if you're part of the sort of immigrant background, which is kind of hardy, stoical, hardworking, obsessed with credentials, success, etc., at least from back in my day, then you might be obsessed with not harming animals indirectly, and you might be a vegetarian, but you might also think it's okay to beat your children, you know? So it's important to keep track of not just what you're a slave to on an individual level, but what are the moral fashions? What are the moral trends within the communities of which I am a part? And are they really something that helps protect and preserve human safety and dignity, you know? So that's something to keep track of, particularly as you're using social media or just engaging with any form of media, you know? I've been a recluse for quite a while, and I plan to mostly live a reclusive lifestyle. And I know a lot of Americans might automatically feel the hairs on their neck standing up when they hear that somebody's like a recluse or a shut-in. They might think, oh, you're just going to learn to have weird value judgments and hate human beings and acquire firearms and, you know, shoot up a grocery store or do something else unconscionable. But in reality, you can seclude yourself with sacred texts and moral philosophy and beautiful fiction and gradually learn an ever-deepening respect for the sort of inner lives and sufferings of other human beings, which is mostly what happened in my case. Whenever I didn't feel slighted and insecure and driven into a kind of compensatory, narcissistic mode of consciousness. So, if you are spending time alone, make sure you use that to you use that time to deepen your prayer life, or you record gratitude journals, or you just learn to deepen your concern for what other people are going through, okay? There's a decent amount of content on the internet now that encourages people to trust no one, to not befriend coworkers, to basically have this overly distrustful mindset, and it's creating a low-trust society of stressed and depressed people, okay? Or at least it's creating little pockets of diminished trust and affection, where there need not be anything like that. So keep track of the moral fashions of your day and not merely what you're enslaved to on an individual level, okay? I know this is probably going to offend certain people, but as a concluding point, let me say something else. A lot of ordinary middle class and working class people think that they can't actually save a life in their lifetime because they don't have the appropriate talents or resources for it. But according to certain kinds of charity assessment bodies, it only costs a few $1,000s to meaningfully save a life through recourse to financially efficient charities. So, if you take really good care of your dental health from birth till death, then you might save at least, I don't know, 10 grand or 20 grand or something. And if you allocate the money you save to specific pro-social outputs as you get older, you will save at least 1 or 2 lives. And that's something that millions of people can do just through diligently brushing their teeth, flossing their teeth, using mouthwash, abstaining from overabundant sugar consumption, etc. So yeah, it's something to think about, you know. You got to reason from first principles. Not all the time, because you need heuristics and cognition sparing and rules of thumb and whatnot. You can't just reinvent the wheel every time you want to learn how to use the bathroom or something. But yeah, that's all I have to say for now. I hope you guys enjoy your July 4th celebrations responsibly. And whether or not you believe in God, God bless you.